Dear Reddit, what is a weird NSFW historical fact? JFK was a massive sex addict and he said at one point he would get migraines without sex. I forgot where he said that, but I learned it a few years ago and I still find it funny. His biggest headache was his last. French President Félix Faure died while getting a blowjob. Don't know if he finished though. Gives new meaning to a happy ending. He came and went at the same time. Don't know if this counts, but Isaac Newton died a virgin. So now every time you feel bad that you still didn't lose your virginity, just remember you're still on par with Isaac Newton. Lmao. LBJ would routinely hold meetings in the bathroom while he was taking a shit. He also called his dick Jumbo. Cleopatra was the product of 4 consecutive generations of brother-sister marriages. The Ptolemies were adamant about keeping the royal bloodline pure, so they didn't allow it to fork. There was a religious group where you can have sex freely as long as you don't ejaculate. Catholics. Antony van Leeuwenhoek, known as the father of microbiology, was the first to examine semen under a microscope immediately after ejaculating in his wife. Would have been easier on a slide. Probably hard to get the microscope in there. Blackbeard and his crew of pirates had a special horn that they used to insert into their urethra. This was then used to flush in mercury, which was believed to be the cure for syphilis. Napoleon's penis was cut off in 1821 during his autopsy and it's still circulating around. The last known purchase was at an auction in 1977 by a urologist named John J. Latimer and it's still sitting in their household to this day. Roman brothels had pictures of the prostitutes' specialties above the door to their room. In World War I, British spies would use semen as invisible ink for their letters. Actually very effective as it would show up in a blacklight, but not in any of the normal ways to detect invisible ink such as heat. Until 1977, Blue Cross and Blue Shield covered elective clitorectomies of children. In medieval times, to torture the people that broke the law, they would rope them in place over a triangular spike and then tie some weights to them. In a course of about 5 hours their asshole would be stretched probably 3 inches and they would be in more pain than like pain. Adult raccoons can fit through an opening as small as 3 inches. Napoleon, don't remember which one, would write his lady and tell her not to bathe in the days leading up to his arrival. In short, man's was all about the stanky dank. Women and men in France at Versailles would just pee anywhere, constantly. There were no bathrooms, just a few chamber pots, but not enough, and they were drinking a lot of wine all the time. So courtyards, inside corners, stairways, anywhere. Feces too, of course. Visitors to the palace would remark on how much it stank horribly. The most gorgeous palace, covered in gold. And human waste. The chainsaw was invented to cut through the pubic bone of a woman during childbirth to help delivery. It was like on a loose chain that was inserted and pulled back and forth, slowly chewing away at the bone. Up until the industrial era it would have been surprisingly commonplace to find dead, unwanted, and abandoned babies just anywhere and everywhere. Powdered wigs became a fashion out of a need to cover up the patchy, inflamed baldness caused by syphilis. The ancient Egyptians had a yearly ceremony that involved men, mostly importantly the pharaoh himself, jerking off into the Nile, as they believed it to have been created by a god in the same manner. Some of the oldest discovered artifacts made by Homo sapiens are dildos carved from mammoth tusk ivory. A number of U.S. service members tasked with backing up anti-Taliban aligned militants in Afghanistan were dishonorably discharged when they tried to bring attention to the blatant use of child sex slaves by these allied warlords. Mozart composed a song called Lick My Ass, translated. Unit 731. I'm not going to give details. Look it up at your own risk. It's way too fucked up. The man who invented one of the first autopilot systems for aircraft made it to be able to have sex with a married woman while they flew. Edit. They ended up crashing into a pond when someone accidentally bumped the off switch during the act. Both survived, but had some awkward explanations to make. Anne Frank wrote about going through puberty in her diary, including passages about exploring her body and feelings of attraction to both male and female friends. Her father left these more private thoughts out of the published version of her diary. Many children were injured and harmed during the American Industrial Revolution. In some cases, children that attempted to flee factories were shackled to their workstations to prevent them from running off. Picasso's buddy wrote a poem about his wiener. What a friendship, writing poetry about your buddy's hog. A ton of ancient Roman graffiti still exists, and it's basically all dick jokes, crude humor, bragging about sex, etc. The OG Xbox Live. Einstein had a fart fetish. A common folk magic practice to bewitch a man in early modern Europe 1400s, 1600s involved a woman making bread or pastry dough, kneading it and pressing it against her naked vulva before baking it and giving it to the target in question. It allegedly made the woman irresistible to the man. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to Best of Reddit.